Food Waste and Planting Seeds by Joanne. Firstly, I would like to do an acknowledgement of country. I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land. I pay my respects to the elders past, present, and emerging for the memories, the traditions, and the culture of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people across the nation. The sustainability topic that would be discussed in the presentation is regarding food waste. Food waste is an ongoing issue in today's society which has an impact on sustainability and the environment. According to research, 7.6 million of food is wasted annually in Australia, and over 1 out of 3 food is wasted globally. Food that is thrown out in an edible form produces high amount of methane gas, which creates pollution. It does not only impact on the environment, but impacts on the global supply chain. So, which means to say, when the food being transported to the supermarkets and it's at the consumer level, and when you throw it out, it will become as waste as well. There are factors that contribute to food waste, which is producing too much food, and children or families do not like the food in a family and educational context. The remaining of this presentation would be based on the learning activity, which is planting seeds, that links to the rationale, planning cycle, early years learning framework, teaching strategies, principles, and pedagogies. So the learning activity involves two parts. Firstly, it involves reading a book titled Plant This Tiny Seed by Christy Matheson, and then after reading the book, the children would do a hands-on experience which involves planting seeds that links back to the book. And the resources involves using a recycled material of an egg carton, as that links to also the concept of recycling, which is being reused rather than throwing it out, along with soil, a spoon, to do the planting experience. This experience allows children not to only understand but show appreciation to the natural environment they are in. It also links to the EYLF outcome, specifically to 2.4, where children become socially responsible and show respect to the environment. So the reason for doing this experience for this age group is that it allows us as teachers to teach children to understand the importance of food waste. Planting seeds, children's understanding, appreciation, and contribution to the natural environment, where it promotes curiosity and problem-solving skills. It also aims at reducing food waste and allows children to grow their own food in the garden to prevent food being thrown in a bit form and consume how much that we need as consumers, as we are not consuming or purchasing food that's too much as well. The provocations involves creating a learning environment where children would be invited and not only want to participate, but curious to what they are learning, that has a concept and an intention for children to achieve, as well as getting their ideas around it. The early years education sustainability concept, when it comes to play, is teaching children about food waste and importance of planting, but allows children to touch, explore, feel the natural materials that is in that environment. Children can achieve the EYF outcome mentioned above before on the previous slide by using the materials around them when they're making positive contributions by making their own food, showing respect to the land they are connected to. Now we're going to link it to the planning cycle based on the experience mentioned previously. So in relation to the planning cycle, before planning any activity, we would observe what children are interested to, attuned to, or are being curious to. and we're documenting their ideas. And from those observations and ideas, we will then assess and determine what children know, and from that, we will plan an activity that, but in this case, it is based on sustainability and food waste. And then we will implement the activity and then document it and then evaluate the strengths, disadvantages, and considering children's development. That part will be further extended into the written report. So the teaching strategies that were used in this experience involve supporting. That involves giving encouragement to children, giving them support when they are trying to complete a task despite it being a bit challenging. Directing and demonstrating is used. That is, educator is telling but also showing, which is pointing, how to plant the seed. They're showing them the material, they're using it, they are covering it, they are watering it, and they're explaining the children through a step-by-step process and not rushing it. And sustained shared thinking is another strategy where we're using open-ended questions throughout the learning activity and also when reading the book. So according to the EYLF, we will focus on some principles and practices that are listed here. The first key principle is sustainability. That is linking to the activity where it allows children to not only to understand the concept, they make positive contributions through the materials and resources that I mentioned earlier that contributes to this activity in terms of planting. This allows them to understand they're reusing materials, recycling materials, and they are not throwing them out. This makes a positive connection to the environment and to the land we are on, and making positive contribution to communities. Equity, inclusion, and high expectations is another principle where we allow every child to participate, support an inclusive environment. We nurture them based on their abilities. We support them at any level despite differences in everyone's development and understanding of a concept. Secure, respectful relationship allows children to develop positive relation with peers and teachers, enhancing social skills. They enables teachers to form partnerships with families so they know what children are participating and doing that supports their learning and development. It is important as educators to develop positive relationships with families and children which caters their needs and interests. Forming relationships enables the role of the teacher to consider all aspects of the curriculum. That is a fundamental part for a child's development, but it allows us as teachers and families to make decisions regarding the curriculum where the sustainability concept can be revisited as they get older and into the future. To summarize the conclusion, we are going to summarize that planting is an important part of a food waste, and what we can do to support the children to understand about it is an important aspect, so they understand that food cannot be thrown out in edible form. We understand that we have to save the food and consume how much we need. The use of planting allows children to explore natural materials and make positive contributions in their environment that supports the inclusivity and how planting works and the impacts we make when it comes to food waste. That makes a positive contribution to the communities they're in. And finally, here are my references, and thank you for listening.